everyone. This is Metalia, also known as Misguided Pilgrim on YouTube. If you're new here, I normally talk about topics revolving around philosophy, religion, or theology, psychology, uh, and a bit of history and politics. So, as you guys can see in the title, Love Playing Pretend. Today I'm going to be identifying and just talking about, the rise of casual sex. Well, pretty blunt, although I won't go like too explicitly, as explicit as the title is. But I'll be talking more about like just the prevalence of it and kind of just a bit to do with the psychology of, you know, those who engage in such acts, and also apologies, situationships, or you could say casual relationships. Now, how is this prevalent in the modern era, 2026? I mean, it has been going on for a long time. I mean, if you talk to people who were born in the 1960s or 1970s, they would probably say like casual dating has been going around for a long time. So it's not actually something that's new, right? we only Sorry, I actually have a bit of a sore throat, so um yeah, pardon me. So actually the whole point, sometimes I feel like it's a bit self-defeating in a way, talking about how casual dating is more apparent these days when it has already existed during the sexual revolution, in the 1960s, 1970s, right? Where the media, you know, portrayed sex a lot more outwardly. Figures like, you know, sex symbols like Marilyn Monroe, Bridget Bardot, all those other figures, well, Megan Fox, Madonna, selling their looks and kind of proving to society that that is a big factor of their value, right? Not as a person necessarily, but like in the media, like if you want to be beautiful, that's kind of like the one of the key element that you have to have, as a woman, like it's the good looks and like, your ability to kind of unleash like you could say, a sex appeal, right? And I mean, that's actually a slightly different topic, because like in the subject of casual sex, casual dating, situationships, like it's more than just a surface level. Well, it's more than just sex appeal, right? It's more about the dynamic that two or more people, even, um, if if a person engages in an open relationship, where they kind of share partners, um, it's very easy for the boundaries of, the how do I explain this? Like the boundaries of a typical, you know, dynamic of a relationship to be blurred. So people who are in a situationship would typically say, "Oh, you know, since we're not exclusive, we perhaps still have the right to see other people, as many people as we want, It's kind of like the concept of trying before you buy, or like experimenting, exploring before you settle for the one, right? Um, so yeah, whatever that means, like you can say you're just seeing other people, as in like you just go on first dates or many dates with them, with or without sleeping with them. So if you are in a situationship, you have the right, well, I mean, in a respectful one, to tell your situationship, or that partner, if you want me to use that phrase, that term, to tell him or her that, you know, you want to be exclusive or not, you know. And I think in this case, like, this is why, like, a lot of people abuse it. This is where a lot of people, not everyone, you know, abuse situationship dynamics, because since the boundaries are blurred, since the boundaries of, you know, well, the choice of seeing other people, but like at the same time seeing your situationship or your partner as, you know, just only your partner, but like not seeing them as a long-term fit is blurred, then all the more reason for people to be easily you know, play pretend, right? It's very easy for people to, in a sense, play a role, just kind of putting themselves in this circus, you know, dressing up as, like, I mean, if you want me to be a bit cynical, not a bit, if you want me to be very cynical, you know, you could say like a clown in a circus, right? I don't want to say that, I really don't, you know, because like I want to be respectful to like genuine people who are in a situationship but actually building something. Of course, those are, you know, exceptions, they're different. But again, like, okay, casual sex, right? First of all, there is nothing casual about sex. I think it's just ironic because a lot of people just say, oh, you know, I don't see you as a long-term fit, but then, you know, we can still see each other casually. We can still see each other casually. We can still be casual, right? So long as you're okay with it. And I'm here just thinking, like, okay, like, I mean, friends, but not friends. Partner, but not partner. Friends with benefits. That is basically what it is. A situationship, and a casual fling. They kind of are the same thing, in my opinion. And the reason why I think that sex is never a casual thing is because you're basically already getting physically intimate with someone. You know, you share each other's, you allow yourself to be naked in front of somebody, right? Without going into too much detail, like, you actually, when you're intimate with someone, you leave a part of your DNA or a blueprint, a physical blueprint, you know, the scent of their hair or whatever, and like also you know, they call it a soul tie, right? And I feel like the more casual sex someone has, the more desensitized that person becomes when they meet each new fling, you know, because they would, you know, say the same things, and they would, or similar things about how you make them feel in bed, or even emotionally, if there's even an emotional attachment, right? And this is the thing, like, I find that, at least to my experience, because I'll be upfront, I have been in a situationship before, and it's either that one person or the other would eventually catch feelings. whether they like to admit it or not. Some people would demand wanting a more, long-term partnership, but the other person is not willing to give it. Or they can just continue seeing other people without any attachment. Or they would just be rejected. The other person would just be rejected because the other finds out that, oh, you've got feelings. What am I supposed to do? Like, I don't have, and I'm not willing. I mean, I'm speaking as third person, like not me actually, like as in, let's say I'm the guy or the girl. Like the girl would probably say, oh, I'm just not willing to give, to have that capacity to give you what you want because I only see you as a fling, right? I just want to have casual sex with you. And I just think, this is why, like, I'm not making this video to preach and say that, oh, you should be celibate for the rest of your lives, or like you should be a nun or a monk, or like you should become a very staunch Christian and like you wait till marriage to have sex. I mean, I could say that, right? And perhaps people might think that that's the ideal thing to say. And some people in the comments, or my followers, might actually wonder, why am I even saying this? But as I've said in my previous video, if you've watched it, commitment is a choice, right? It isn't something that arises out of desire. Just because you desire or you lust after someone, it doesn't turn into commitment. And this is where a lot of people get mistaken, and sadly women, perhaps, I mean myself included to a certain extent, like we can get attached easily to a man or to someone, and expecting that if we give them the ultimate reward, they would want to care for us, right? But that's the reason why, like in older societies, right, in my parents' generation, people who were born in 1950s, 1960s, the man, well, even older societies, the man has to prove himself to the woman's family, whatever acts of chivalry or whatever, with money, with gifts, with effort, not just the bare minimum, to prove to the woman and her family that he's worth something, to invest in the woman before sleeping with her. And it has sort of died out in a sense, I mean, not entirely, but this is one of the things that, not just in Western societies, in many societies nowadays, even in Asian societies, that people have kind of not retained to that value, and I think the biggest reason for that is because, a lot of Generation Z, people who were born in 2000 and after 2000, a lot of us think that, you look at Bill Gates and Melinda Gates, they've built a foundation together, they have been married for years, and then they still got divorced in the end. We see a lot of perhaps things in the media, like, movies like Sex and the City, or even just our own real life experiences where, like, parents have been married or lived together for a long time and then they still end up separating because something's changed. And I mean, it is sad, it is sad to see, people that have been together and just decide to separate. But it's actually more common than you think. And it doesn't mean that commitment or love is impossible to find. Now, I say this because I almost fall into the trap of thinking that love is impossible to find, and that, all we have to do is just to play pretend until we find the right one. But as I said earlier about, the thing about sleeping with many people and getting numb or desensitized after, meeting one girl or one guy to the next, and you see them saying the same things of how you make them feel and stuff, and you just gradually become detached. So when you actually meet the one, you probably, don't even realize that they're the one, because you're just emotionally in this space where, like, I've been getting laid for so many times, and is it even worth finding the one? So yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm trying to say. The danger of casual sex, if you still want to use that term. I just think that term is just, it's just strange to me. Like, there's nothing casual about sex at all, because there are, it's a very personal thing, to be sleeping with someone, to allow yourself to be, in your physical vulnerable state, right? But then it's also strange that even though you have been physically vulnerable, I mean, with someone, or physically intimate with someone, there are still some things about that person that you don't know, and yet you're willing to be naked in front of them, right? So yeah, so the reason why I want to talk about this is because, hookup culture, it's still there, it's still there since the 70s, since the sexual revolution anyway. And I think that's why, like, Charlie Kirk, again, I talk about Charlie Kirk, he's urging, he's a staunch conservative Christian, so, you can take his word for it, you can take his word as a grain of salt, but I think it does resonate with me when, he's urging people to get married, have kids, not to go to, clubs and get drunk and then get laid, simply because that's how civilizations are built, in his opinion, right? To, building families, a nuclear family at least, in his eyes. That was how civilizations were built. But of course, like, there's pros and cons. Like, back then, there wasn't much emotional freedom. People were in arranged marriages, or even getting married by force. But nowadays, because there's the extreme, too much freedom, people just become complacent and just almost giving up finding love, that they'd rather just get laid and be single, because being single is a luxury, apparently. And how is it a luxury? It's a luxury because, like, you can go anywhere and just be on your own, and apparently your sense of pride is built by the number of body counts that you have. The more people you sleep with, the more you feel proud of it. I just don't get it. I just don't get that people who are proud of that, honestly. I'm gonna be clear about that. It's just it's not right. But as they say, us humans, we are walking contradictions. And that's because we're able to juggle both love, loss. There's a part of us that yearn to love someone and to be loved genuinely. But then, because we are scared of suffering or taking the risk, you know, that we might overcome when we find that genuine love. So we take part in things that make us suffer, and that is casual sex, right? That is the things that make us suffer is actually the things that we thought we are enjoying, you know, getting numb to the pleasure, you know, getting desensitized after having so many flings and so many sex with people that you know or barely know, right? But you know, just a piece of advice for those of you who are willing to find love, who want to find love, and who still believe that love is out there. I agree with you. And please don't give up. It is there. In this decaying society where people just see love as a commodity, you know, where people just would rather partake in jouissance, a term that Slovenian philosopher Slavoj Žižek used to highlight the pleasure that people somehow have, you know, in their suffering, and thinking that that's authentic. Just hold yourself back. You know, just don't. Control your impulses. Pray if you need to. Write down your journal. Meditate. Do whatever. Do the 12 steps meeting. You know, there's a 12-step meeting here in Melbourne, Australia, where people actually, you know, it's kind of like a fellowship or a group of people who are trying to recover from an addiction, whatever addiction that is, alcoholism, narcotics, smoking, sex, porn. They get together and then they talk about why they got into it and how they got into it, and they get sponsored if they keep coming to those meetings, and the sponsor can help you find resources to help you recover, right? So it's not a one-on-one therapy session, it's kind of, you know, a group collaborative one. So yeah, honestly, I don't know if there is, you know, a resolution or one that is imminent, you could say. But just, I would say, observe your surroundings, control your impulses, and I need to do the same as well. I'm very direct here in this video, just because, having been in a situationship myself, I mean, the situationship wasn't like very casual, you know, there was emotional attachment, but you know, sometimes all it takes is being in a different kind of environment, maybe, or mingling with better circles, right? Better circles of people with the values that you uphold, that you look for. Dating intentionally, you know. Some people say that, oh, wanting commitment takes the pleasure out of dating, but with the right person, I don't think they'll ever say that, right? But yeah, anyway, I hope you found the video insightful. Please give a like, subscribe, or comment for more. Stay in touch. Stay tuned for the next videos.